Welcome everyone. Pre-Med Group. I am joined here today with Dr. Femi Showole. Am I pronouncing it correct?
Perfect.
Excellent, excellent. Dr. Femi Showole, who is an osteopathic physician and a cardiologist with MidMichigan Health and University of Michigan in Health, and is a member of the comprehensive heart and vascular team. He attained his integrative biology degree from the University of Toronto. After completing 2 years of research at Wells Cornell Medical Center, he went on to complete a degree in medicine at Touro College of Osteopathic Medicine in New York City. Dr. Showole pursued his postgraduate degree at Michigan State University, completing an internal medicine residency and a cardiology fellowship. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So my intention to share is so that we can just share our expertise with the pre-med students, lessons learned that we both have learned through this experience. But you in particular, we want to listen intently to you so that you can share your wisdom with pre-med students. Okay. But the first thing I want to do before we kind of dive in is to do something a little fun, just for like a minute or two, okay?
Sure.
So I call it like a speed questions. So 1-2 minutes, we're gonna go through these like series of questions, just give you a first thought. It kind of shares who you are beyond the sciences, okay?
Got it.
So I'm gonna ask you really quick.
Right.
So PC or Mac?
PC, definitely.
Android or iPhone?
iPhone.
Favorite season?
Pardon?
Favorite season? Fall, spring, winter?
I'd say spring. Definitely spring. Yeah.
Favorite vacation spot?
That's a tough one. I would say.
Come on, come on.
That's kind of speed rounds, isn't it?
Come on.
Probably Nigeria, actually. That's probably my favorite. Yeah.
Favorite restaurant?
I'd say. Yeah, just kind of any restaurant in New York City that has an open seating, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your favorite guilty food?
Ice cream.
Okay. Favorite TV show?
I've been kind of doing a little bit of throwback, so I've been throwing back to a different world, so I have to go with that right now.
Okay. Favorite movie?
Yeah. Favorite movie? Just go with the Avengers. That's the first thing I could think about. Might not be my favorite, but I came up with that first, so I'll take that.
Okay. Favorite character in Avengers? Now that's interesting.
Yeah, it's so many different characters. I'm gonna be a little cliche and go with Black Panther on that one.
Okay, I'm with
you.
I'm with you. The swag. Favorite movie? I'm sorry, not favorite movie. Favorite sport?
Sport. I'd have to go to basketball.
Okay. Music genre?
That's another tough one. But so many different genres, and I've changed. If you asked me that question 5 years ago, I'd probably give you a different answer. But probably like world hip hop, I guess, would be my favorite right now.
Okay. Yeah. And the last one, favorite color?
Color, definitely blue.
I don't know what it is. Yeah. Me
Yeah.
too. Me too. We got a lot of similarities there. We definitely do. So again, it's good to see you, and I definitely appreciate your time, as I know you're a busy man, family man as well.
Yes.
So you're married now with how many children?
I have 2 kids. I have 2 boys, 8-year-old and a 6-year-old.
Wow. Oh my God.
Exciting times.
Yeah.
With everything going on, exciting times.
Yeah, yeah. And as a father myself, I could tell you will live through it. Because it is definitely busy. This is a busy time in your life.
Yeah.
Wow. So congrats on all of that.
Thank you.
So I guess if you wouldn't mind sharing, like, what inspired you to go into medicine?
To be honest with you, I always kind of like sciences. I kind of, as a kid, I thought I'd be more into the engineering type of sciences. But beginning of high school, I did a project on an amino acid called valine, and I learned from that there's a single mutation that caused glutamic acid to become valine, and I learned that that single mutation caused sickle cell anemia. That kind of really opened up my mind to biological sciences. And then the next year, I did a paper on sickle cell anemia, and from that, it kind of just really grew on me that I want to really focus on the biological sciences. So I think that was probably my first kind of taste into wanting to become not necessarily a physician, but someone who was in the health systems, definitely.
So the very first, were you good in high school in terms of sciences? Or
I would say so. I was definitely doing more of the AP type courses. So that was my focus in high school, was the AP sciences, AP chemistry, AP physics, AP biology. So I would say I was pretty decent in high school.
So I'm curious for the younger folks, did anyone in your walk kind of, early on stages where did anyone approach you and like, oh, why are you doing this? This is too difficult. You seem to be good with basketball or whatever it might be. Did anyone try to deter you in the beginning?
No, in terms of my family, definitely no one in my family tried to deter me. I was kind of lucky in the sense that I had a father who was an engineer, and I had some relatives that were in the sciences. I would definitely say that in terms of everyone else around me, you don't get that same amount of motivation as you do from your family. So definitely it was something that I had to kind of put my head down and really focus on it. And it's difficult. It's definitely difficult in the sense that society might not really think that you're capable of being a physician or a scientist, and you have to go above and beyond what society expects, and just kind of focus on you and do you. So
it's good to hear that you say that you had the family supports, because there are many out there. There are some that have the supports, and then there are many that don't. So I'm glad to hear that you at least had that. Some are just dealing with no family supports and no peer supports because they just they can't relate. Did you have anybody in your family that was physicians or in health sciences?
No one in my direct family when I was becoming a medical student. My sister ended up becoming a physician as well too. But I didn't really have anyone directly in my family that was a physician to look up to. So for me, it was I could definitely relate to those who don't have physicians in their family. It was something that I didn't have anyone to really look up to and say, hey, this is how you do the walk and this is what you need to do to become a physician. I didn't have that. So I definitely made mistakes along the way because of that.
Yeah, which leads me to, I was going to ask you if you had any challenges that you kind of learned or figured out that you could share from your experiences that someone could benefit from.
Definitely. So for me, probably just the fact that, when I went to college, I wasn't really gung-ho about what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do science. And that might be because of the fact that I didn't have anyone to look up to say, hey, this is what you should do, and the steps you need to do as a pre-med to become a physician. So I just kind of went into college as the guy that wanted to do science. And I think that, it was kind of helpful in the sense that I had a broad view of science, but it was also not very helpful in the sense that I didn't have a direction in terms of going straight into med school. So I didn't actually go straight into med school from college. I took a little bit of a detour and did some research because I didn't really have an idea of what I wanted to do. So that was definitely something that if I had someone that was a physician or thought out a mentor that was a physician, I probably would have had a more direct route to med school.
I find some people have a very strong sense of self in that they're okay with being the only, even though they feel being the only sometimes in spaces of medicine, whether it be specialty or conferences or or even the school experience, being the only, sometimes it has its weight. There are some people that are manage that well, right? Because the love and support of their family, they kind of like, they stand strong, like they just push it off. I'm curious for you in particular, have you ever felt that only feeling in your space, in your walk in school or in your profession, being the only, and how did you internalize that and manage that and just keep pressing?
Got it. Yeah, definitely. I think being a Black physician, being a Black person that's in sciences, you're quite often the only. I was only the only in my AP courses. For the most part, I was only the only in the science courses in college, and one of the very few in medical school as well too, and even as in residency. So every kind of step that I was taking, I was one of the very few only first Black person in that field, and then also a Black male in that field as well too. It's definitely something that I didn't necessarily internalize because I kind of lived it for so long. It was the fact that it's something you live for so long that it's sometimes you have to kind of step back later on and look at it and reflect and recognize that it was something that definitely weighed down on you a little bit. During that time period, you're so busy trying to become who you are that you don't recognize that it's something that there's times in med school where I was part of SNMA, which is the Student National Medical Association, and when you kind of step away from being the only in your med school and you go to those conferences where you're the majority, it's at those times where you can really recognize that being the minority in your med school sometimes does have its pitfalls and does weigh down on you, and you feel a lot more elevated and promoted when you're part of a group that's similar to you. So for those who feel that way, I think it's important to be involved in groups that can promote you, have mentors that can promote you, mentors that reflect who you are and know your struggle and tell you how to navigate those struggles. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean about SMA. Just even as an administrator, participating in those events throughout the years kind of rebooted me, refreshed me, motivated me,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of helped with that issue of being the only, because you felt like you were connected to a bigger picture, if you will, or just national organizations, statewide. You could see the representation, so it really rebooted me as well. So I didn't feel so alone.
Definitely.
That I saw some commonalities, some places, some spaces where I could relate. They could relate too. So did you feel ever in coursework in particular where you felt insecure about particular coursework, and how did you mentally deal with that, and how did you get the help you needed, if indeed that was?
Got it. Yeah, I think anyone that's gonna practice medicine is gonna feel at some point in time insecure about the coursework. It's just the way medicine is. It's a lot of information at you all at once, and even if you're used to studying the volume of work you have to do in med school sometimes can be kind of daunting at times. So for me, it was, sometimes you succumb to it, and then other times you don't. And the ways you don't succumb to it is, being diligent, learning to take it one step at a time. Learning not to take too many breaks. What I kind of overwhelmed me was when I was doing too much. If I did too much and try to be too many things to too many different people, it didn't work out very well. So for me, it kind of I had to isolate myself from distractions and just kind of focus on medicine only. And for me, that was kind of the way I got through it. So other ways I got through was just having support systems. So you definitely need to have a support system where someone can help motivate you. It's going to be trying times. Medicine is not only about, and medical school is not only about the art of learning, it's also the art of being able to cope with challenging times. And that's where having loved ones or friends or family that can help support you makes a big difference.
I'm curious, as you were preparing to compete for the medical school admissions, you know, when you were thinking to yourselves, well, how do I prepare for this competitive space? You know, I wrote down some questions like, how do you feel about shadowing, the importance of it? How do you feel about extracurricular? If people are starting to build their blocks, like what are the things you think would be helpful to them engage in before they apply to med school? What would you say?
And, so that looking back now, as someone who's gone through it and someone who sees students, and I think the most important thing is to show that you have an interest in medicine. So that doesn't necessarily mean shadowing, but that's a big part of it. It could be, volunteering in the hospital and showing that you had that dedication to do it for, 2-3 years or even a year of volunteering. That shows that you had that motivation to understand what it is to work in a hospital, what it means to be seeing what it means to be a physician at times. So you don't necessarily have to volunteer. I think someone who shadows, once or twice. I would say that someone who volunteers, for an extended period of time has a lot more weight than someone who volunteers once, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. No, really, I appreciate your sharing your experience. I could see a lot of people benefiting. Just to end, I wanted to ask you, if you were to talk to your younger self, what would you say to your younger self now?
That's a tough question, because you keep on learning, and I think at the end of the day, who I am now is because of the journey that I went through. So it's hard for me to tell my younger self to change that journey, because I wouldn't be who I am right now. But I would definitely say that always keep your head up, keep on trying to help others out, and keep on having a love and dedication to what you do. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have that, it doesn't matter what you do in life. If you don't have that love and dedication and for what you do, then you don't have the joy of practicing. So even if I, at a young age, decided to, become an engineer instead of a physician, I want to make sure that that young kid that wants to become an engineer had a passion for and a joy for becoming an engineer.
I do have one more question. I apologize. Because we could definitely do an hour, I swear.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking for the younger man of color that's listening to us, I want you to let me know if I'm correct with this. I think sometimes men of color can have an issue with those of authority. And I think when we engage in this competitive space, sometimes we have people that are authority of the moment, professors, deans, or whatever. Sometimes they come at us hard. And, we have to be mindful. We watch the line, right? We want to all be treated with respect. First of all, we'd say that.
Correct.
But I wonder, do you have any advice for the thickening of the skin of the man of color? Do you think that's even appropriate to say or to talk about? Because I think, it's the fight or flight kind of thing. And if you come into this space, I think, you correct me if I'm wrong, with a thin skin, when you're challenged, it may be instinctive to want to flight or fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Flight, right? Do I stay engaged in this or do I leave it? So am I correct with that? And is there any words of wisdom for those men in particular? I mean, just people, of course, abroad, but I'm thinking of the men, since we are both. Is there any advice to them, to come into this, how to come into this mentally? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's kind of sad that we have to talk about this.
Huh? Say again?
But it's somewhat sad that we have to talk about this, but it is what it is. I think that definitely sometimes understanding where the people that are saying those things come from, and sometimes they're not saying it necessarily directly to you, and it's some of their own biases that are making them say those things. So for me, I think the best way was for me to just kind of trying to understand where they came from, and then recognize that what they're saying isn't who I am, and also just having that, like I said, that passion for what you want to do in life, and knowing that I think one of the things that really stuck out to me was what I learned at a conference, and someone said that, you know, the most important thing that you can do as a medical student is to become a physician, because when you become a physician or an attending, then you have the ability to shape more ability to shape the things around you. You have the ability to help your community members in terms of the health aspect of it. You have the ability to become a mentor for other mentees and that are coming up. So I kind of stuck with that in my mindset, that at the end of the day, no matter what, I needed to become a physician. And that was the most important thing that I could do for myself and for my community. And that kind of created that thick skin for me to be able to get through those moments.
Yeah, and I dare not imply that someone should be subject themselves to disrespect. I do not suggest that at all.
Yeah.
Coming from the point of, you know, people feeling pressured or people being sensitive. I don't mean to tolerate disrespect. I do not. But just the quickness to be offended or upset because people are holding you accountable. Like sometimes some of us will be like, you know what, I'm out of here. You know, why does it always appear that they're coming hard on me? And I just, you know, sometimes if we are so thin, then we may lose the opportunity to pursue our dreams, because, you know, there are gatekeepers in everything that we do, and we got to get past them. But again, I emphasize, I do not, you know, suggest to subject ourselves to abuse or any kind of other insults. Absolutely not.
Yeah, definitely. That's where having mentors and people that have gone through that is very helpful. The mentor can be someone that you can talk to personally, someone that going to meetings and talking to people at different meetings, like SNA meetings. But having someone that has been through it and that can tell you that, you know, maybe what you're feeling isn't necessarily what you think it is. This is maybe something that everyone that goes through medical school, every medical student who's at the bottom of the totem pole of medicine goes through this. That might be something that would be valuable. If you don't have someone that's a mentor, you don't have someone who's gone through that process, then for you, that might seem like an affront and something that you want to either fight or run away from. And obviously that can be detrimental to your career, definitely. Yeah.
Is there anything you wanted to share before we end?
And I just want to say thank you for all that you do. I know that I've known you for, well, it's been, I want to say almost running on 15 years now.
Wow.
It's been a while, actually. And through that whole time that I've known you, you've been always an advocate for diversity in health, and from the day one, from the jump. And that's probably the reason why I went to Tor College, is because of the motivation that you had. So I want to just say thank you for all the hard work that you've done and your dedication through all these years.
Thank you for saying that. And I want to say to you, I think I conveyed this in the message. In my mind, I can still see you in there coming into that small room. I could still see that in my mind. You sitting down in front of me with your transcripts. I still have that in my head, and I'm sure I'll have that to the very end.
I still do too. I have opposite view, but I definitely still remember that day.
Yeah,
definitely.
In my head.
With my Canadian transcript confusing you.
Yes. But thank you so much. Thank you so much for contributing. And that's the intention. Well beyond.
Anytime.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks a lot.